A law professor is on the phone, pulling into his own driveway, and then he says 4 words that will be the last thing anyone ever hears from him. "Someone's in my driveway." 90 seconds later, he's dying behind the wheel of his own car. It took police 11 years to figure out who did it, and the answer starts with his own family. July 18, 2014 began as an unremarkable Friday for Dan Markel. He dropped his 2 sons at daycare, worked out at his usual gym, then drove home. A green Prius trailed him the entire way, caught on gym cameras and city traffic footage. Around 11 that morning, he pulled into his driveway in Benton Hills, still on the phone with a friend. His voice suddenly changed. He said someone unfamiliar was behind him. The call cut off. A neighbor heard a bang, saw the Prius speeding away, and found Dan barely alive inside his own car. He died 14 hours later. Dan Markel's achievements were extraordinary long before that morning. Born in Toronto in 1972, he showed relentless drive from childhood. He attended Harvard for both college and law school, studied in Israel and at Cambridge, clerked for a federal judge, and practiced law in Washington, D.C. In 2005, at 32, he became a professor at Florida State University's law school. He co-founded a widely respected legal blog and became a central figure in academic legal discourse. By his early 30s, he had built the kind of career most scholars spend a lifetime working toward. While at FSU, Dan met Wendy Adelson, a fellow law student from a prosperous South Florida family. They married in 2006 in an elaborate Boca Raton ceremony announced in the New York Times. Wendy joined the same law faculty, and the couple had 2 sons, Benjamin in 2009 and Lincoln in 2010. On paper, it looked like a thriving partnership between 2 accomplished professionals. But Wendy had never embraced Tallahassee. She missed the closeness of her South Florida family, and that unresolved distance quietly strained the marriage long before anyone outside the household noticed. In September 2012, while Dan traveled for work, Wendy left. She took the furniture, emptied their safety deposit box, and took her 2 young sons to her parents in Coral Springs, leaving no note. Dan returned to an empty house and divorce papers on the bed, a moment he later called his own Pearl Harbor. He didn't know where his sons were for weeks. Once he learned their location, he fought hard through the courts, using his legal custodial rights to keep his sons living near him in Tallahassee, rather than allowing a move south. Dan's custody fight kept Wendy tied to a city she resented, and that frustrated her family deeply. The Adelsons reportedly offered him money to give up custody. He refused. Around this time, friends noticed him smiling again, enjoying a new relationship, finally recovering from the divorce. Unlike most murder cases, the motive here wasn't money or long-standing hatred, it was simply distance. The Adelson family wanted Wendy and her 2 sons 500 miles closer to home, and Dan's legal presence as an involved father made that impossible to arrange through normal means. By late 2013, months before the murder, Dan's brother Charlie Adelson had reportedly begun coordinating with Catherine Magbanua to solve the family's custody problem permanently. Magbanua's partner, Sigfredo Garcia, had gang connections and brought in his friend Luis Rodera to help. The plan needed a driver, a shooter, and untraceable funding. That funding came through the family dental practice, where Donna Adelson signed 44 checks to Magbanua with no listed job title or duties, quietly compensating her for a role that had nothing to do with dentistry. In early June 2014, Garcia and Rivera drove to Tallahassee, renting a Toyota Prius and studying Dan's daily routine, his gym and his neighborhood, before returning home without acting. 6 weeks later, they came back with Magbanua and finished planning the final details. On the morning of July 18th, the rented Prius appeared at Dan's gym exactly when he did, followed him through the city, on cameras investigators would later piece together frame by frame, and trailed him all the way into his own driveway before the shooting occurred. Investigators initially had almost nothing. No stolen property, no known enemies, no clear motive. Their only lead was the Prius itself, equipped with an uncommon SunPass toll transponder, suggesting a South Florida origin. That single detail took nearly 2 years to trace, through rental records eventually identifying Garcia and Rivera. A photo placed Garcia at a Pembroke Pines ATM the same day as the reconnaissance trip, and a witness recalled Rivera holding a revolver at a Tallahassee motel weeks before the murder, matching the weapon believed used in the shooting. By 2016, investigators needed the family to talk. An undercover FBI agent approached Donna Adelson outside her condo, posing as Rivera's brother, handing her an article about the murder with a dollar amount written on it. She denied knowing anything, then immediately called her son. A traceable chain of calls followed between Donna, Charlie, and Magbanua. The next day, Charlie and Magbanua met at a restaurant, secretly recorded. It took 6 years to enhance that audio enough for court, but it revealed the family's private code word for the murder, the TV. Garcia and Rivera were arrested in 2016. Rivera's plea deal helped convict Garcia in 2019. Magbanua was convicted in 2022 after an earlier mistrial. Charlie Adelson, indicted in 2022, was convicted in 2023 using phone records and the enhanced restaurant recording. Days later, Donna was arrested at Miami's airport holding a one-way ticket to Vietnam. She was finally convicted in September 2025, 11 years after the murder. 5 people were held responsible, one at a time, through toll records, audient work, and a single undercover approach outside a condominium. If this story kept you hooked, please take a second to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon. We cover true crime cases like this every week, and you won't want to miss the next one. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next story.